Well, again, good afternoon and welcome back, Realty Pros. We are excited about 2022. This is the year of progression for us at Porterhouse. And as we've been talking about, we're going to new levels in our business. We're going to new levels in every area of our lives. As we began a couple weeks ago, our 2022 Porterhouse business plan, we will continue in that same vein for today. So as we started out talking about the numbers, that's exactly where we want to focus so that we know exactly what activities we need to do. We're going to establish our goals in terms of our monetary goal for the year. We're going to take a look at our activities in terms of the things that we need to do. And then most importantly, we're going to look at prospecting to make sure that we are making the contacts necessary in order to reach our goals for 2022. All right. If anybody is courageous enough that would like to help give me a quick recap, help to give the group a recap of what we did last week. We're on this page called Making It Easy and breaking down the numbers. You don't have to go through the whole thing, but I would like to ask if somebody would chime in and just give us an overview of what you recall. And no worries, because you got a cheat sheet right in front of you from last week on this particular page. We have any volunteers? All right. I will call on some of you that I know have digested this information. Angela, I know that you've digested this and you were here last week. Give us some pointers from this page from last week.
Okay, so I'll sum it up briefly, but it basically allows you to come up with your income goal, and it helps you to break it down step by step to determine how you're going to get there from how many transactions you need, breaking them down to how many buyer sales you need and listings that you'll have to take, from appointments all the way down to, the exact amount of contacts you'll have to make daily to achieve every single goal to help you get to that income level that you have set for yourself.
Excellent. Thank you. Did anybody else have any key takeaways or anything that they'd like to add to that page?
Ms. Porter, I think one of the things that we kind of looked at last week was that when you really break it down by the numbers, this is so doable. It's something that everyone can do. If you start really with the high numbers, it can get kind of overwhelming. But if you just go all the way down the numbers and you get all the way down to how many contacts it is per hour and how many hours of daily prospecting, it really becomes one of those things that everyone can do. I think I said last time, they call it reduction to the ridiculous. And it's something that you can just, you can work your schedule, you can get it down. And what he told me was, it was like, I could do this. What have I been doing? And what have I not been doing? Because it's so easy, it's so simple. And so it's just a matter, I think, of doing it. So I think one of the things we have to do is look at the numbers, break them all the way down, and then work your plan where you bring it back up. So you start with the lowest numbers, and then once you start doing it, you'll see at the end of the month, wow, I talked to this many people, I did this, I contacted this many people. So I think that's the reason why it's so exciting.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Kermon. Does anybody else have anything? Any feedback from this page? Joy, you said something last week that was very, very potent. If you're able to unmute yourself, I would love for you to reiterate your thoughts about this page from last week.
It provides a work and life balance. It shows you how you're able to still meet your goals, but still have a life outside of work.
Definitely. Would you elaborate a little bit more for anybody who may not have been on the call last week? Just how this provides for a work-life balance?
Sure. It gives a calculation that talks about taking vacation, and it shows you how basically it leaves 11 months out of the year that you would work on your business, but it provides you 4 weeks of vacation. So, you know, a lot of times when we're looking at things, we don't incorporate the time that we need to take out for ourselves. And this is showing you how you're still able to take out time for yourself and still be able to meet a goal to sustain the lifestyle, you know, or the money that you may want to make.
That was so poignant. I really wanted to have you to reiterate that because you did a phenomenal job last week and today. So thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else have any key takeaways from this page? All right, then you guys have done a phenomenal job with just a recap of that page, and I will continue to move on. I'm just going to piggyback very briefly on one of the things that Joy said. Everybody has done such a great job with the recap. I feel like I don't have to do too much work on this page. This is very exciting because we all know we get 365 days in a work year, but this plan is only meant to cover 220 days of that work year. So right offhand, you get 145 days that you do not have to work on this business plan. So that is the piece that is just so palatable. And that's when Joy says it provides for the work-life balance. That is something that I want to be abundantly clear and provide that excitement and that can-do spirit on the inside of you. So you can say, yeah, I can do this. I can work this plan because it's not requiring that I do everything for 365 days per year, 220 days. So I'm excited. Thank you guys for sharing that information. And if anybody would like to reiterate that very last paragraph, Kerman, I think I'll call on you because you began with talking about this. That very last paragraph and sentence there, if you would just reiterate for anybody who may not have been on the call.
Are you talking about where it says if you take 4 weeks?
So the very last paragraph and sentence with regards to the number of contacts and the amount of time that it's going to take.
Absolutely. So as it says, at 8 to 12 contacts per hour, that equates to 1 to 1.5 hours of daily prospecting to achieve $100,000 in earnings this year. Two things that stand out to me. Number one, everybody can do that. Okay. Doing 8 to 12 contacts per hour. When you're talking about working 1 to 1.5 hours of daily prospecting, you know, one of the things that you used to say, Ms. Porter, you don't go out to prospect, you prospect when you go out. So while you're out, you can do it. It's a matter of speaking with people and capturing a little bit of information, a phone number, an email, or what have you. But the thing that gets me most is, really, I don't know any place that you can go and have the opportunity to make $100,000 of only working $100,000 a year by only working 1 to 1.5 hours, basically, of daily prospecting. I know there's some more things that we have to do. We have to contact people and all of that. But to just get started to making $100,000 a year with 1 to 1.5 hours of consistently doing something repetitively, it's amazing. It's amazing. That's what I love about this business.
Very well said, Kerman. Thank you for that. Would anybody like to go ahead? Is that D? You have something you want to share?
I wanted to reiterate one of the other things that Kerman said last week. It was like, well, you could do it 1.5 hours a day, or you could do it 4 hours on a Saturday and 4 hours on a Monday, or you could take a whole day and get it done. Kerman was just talking about, you know, it's absolutely, what he said was it's absolutely doable. And there are so many ways you can do that as long as you actually block out the time to get it done. So that was one of the things that stuck with me, that it just blocking out the time to get it done and making sure that you do that many contacts in the week or in the month. It should be in the week so that you actually get what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, Dee. Does anybody else have any key takeaways from this page that they'd like to contribute?
And I'm sorry, if I could say one more thing. something that Dee was just saying, because I know a lot of us are dual career, but one of the things that we used to talk about is you can be a weekend warrior, which means you can do a lot. If you're off on Saturdays, you can really plug Saturday in just to really rock and roll. I mean, you can go out, you can do your contacts, you can do your follow-up, you can do a lot of things on one day, because some of us, because it gets dark so early and different things, we have other things with family obligations and whatnot. We may not be able to get out every day, but if you can really schedule yourself to be a weekend warrior, you can get a lot of stuff done.
Another great contribution. Thank you for that. All right, now let me ask a question. Would anybody like to take a guess as to why we're spending so much time on this page? So for various reasons, and all of which have been stated, there's another element to this. Is there anybody that would like to take a guess, maybe with regards to something that hasn't already been said? All right, I'll give you a hint. There are very many prospecting activities that we can take that are paid. What about this one? We're talking about earning income that is significant and can change your life. And how much does this cost you in order to do?
Not a penny.
I want you to elaborate, because this is one of the things that I really want all of us to take away from this, the opportunity for progression that's in front of us and what it actually costs and what it doesn't.
It actually costs your time, and that's what we keep saying. Time blocking is essential, but it doesn't cost us a dime, not a penny, to do this work. We just really have to focus. And one of the things I had heard from a colleague a long time ago was, this is essential. I do this every day or every week, whatever I decide, however I decide to spend my time on this. This is what keeps my business going. I must do this. There is no excuse. It must be done in order to, make the money that I want to make. However, it does not cost anything. So, do it when you're grocery shopping, do it when you're going to the cleaners, do it when you're running your errands. Whatever you're doing, just keep it in front of you all the time to remember this is what brings in your bread and butter. So it can be integrated into your life so that you have, as Joy was saying, a work-life balance. Just figure it out, because it will come back.
Very well said. Thank you for that, Dee. That is so essential for everybody to get it. This doesn't cost a penny, guys. It just requires diligence and consistency over time. It doesn't cost a penny. So if you're just starting out, or if you're going to new levels, or if you're ready to progress to a dominant real estate team, whatever that case is, all of those things, a part of that conversation is normally, what is your budget? But if we're showing you something that all it takes is your time and your diligence, and it doesn't cost you a penny, this is very important. Ramon, I see that you've unmuted yourself. Did you have something to add there?
No, Ms. Porter, I'm sorry, I didn't.
It's okay. No problem at all.
Can I chime in there real quick, Jasmine?
Yes, of course.
Good afternoon, Realty Pros. One of the things that's fun, and I like what Caramon, reminded us of, you prospect when you're out. And sometimes, one of the things that I really enjoyed that we did was that when we saw listings that weren't ours, we would schedule ourselves and go in and do a preview of the listing. So there's some big, beautiful houses, some mansions. We wanted to go check them out. We wanted to see what the listing agent, may have done in terms of their recommendations to the sellers, or even if they offered, like, just little the footage when people walked in, just how they listed those homes, so that when we eventually were able to get $1 million listings, we would know what to do. But part of that, what I learned is that when you pull up to those properties in those neighborhoods, every now and then you'll see people looking. You'll see people wondering, or they'll come and say, "Hey, how does that house look on the inside? Can I go see it?" Of course, we want to represent them, and so we used to keep, back in the day, we used to keep those sheets ready, and we say, "Well, I can show it to you, but you have to sign up with me as a client." And people are laughing, like, "Yeah, I love to show it to you." Um, and so those are just ways, like Caroline saying, these you just have to be ready. You have to be authentic, and sometimes you have to, what I call, juke the system by going and just looking at listings. In your downtime, you're not marketing. Go look at listings. Walk around neighborhoods where you would like to list the properties. See who's listing in those neighborhoods. Maybe even contact that person. I was the guy who listed the house that Jasmine and I actually bought. I was able to talk to him, and he gave me some insight on how he was getting a lot of the listings that he was getting, and I actually joined the group that he joined. So just doing all of those type of things when you're farming and thinking about what can I do to prospect, those are very important things to do. And sometimes you just go and have fun, take a day, get some coffee, and go preview homes. And if you have, if you have an accountability partner, it's even more fun. You can see ideas. You can think of things that you're going to do once you get your $1 million listing. And that's what I really want everyone this year to really focus on. It takes just as much energy to sell a $200,000 listing, if not more, than it does to sell $1 million listing. And I want us to really broaden our horizons and go after the big money. That's all I wanted to share.
That was very well put. Thank you, Mr. Porter. This is our year of progression, so let's progress in this area. Angela said something that was very important earlier in this page with regards to the numbers, guys. This is a numbers game in terms of breaking down the numbers, but this is it's a people game when it comes to actually being successful in real estate. We're in a people business. Yeah, we have contracts, we have goals, we have all these things we have to do, but these are actual people that we're going to talk to. Okay, people, keeping people at the forefront. Mr. Porter has shared with you guys in the past how so many times we have gotten multi-million-dollar deals, some investment deals, some listing or purchase or whatever the case was, just going out to restaurants and making conversation with people. So Kermon said it, we'll reiterate it because it's essential to everything that we do as realtors. You want to be purposeful and intentional about starting conversations with people everywhere that you go. Everywhere. Dee said it. It can be at a grocery store, a gas station, wherever you go. If there are people there, then they're prospecting opportunities, right? So have conversations with people, be intentional, give a compliment. Mr. Porter said that a couple of weeks ago. Be purposeful to speak to somebody, give them a smile, pay a compliment. If you're in a Starbucks or a Panera Bread, you might buy them a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Those little things like that really go a long way with people because you're planting seeds. And this is absolutely seed time and harvest. So everywhere that we go, we want to be intentional about planting those seeds. Okay.
Jasmine, what I hear, I really kind of lost myself as I was getting caught up in the excitement. But what I was going to say to you guys is, you can do 14 properties and 14 listings to get your 100,000, but you can focus on $1 million listings and just get one a month and be way past $100,000 in commission.
Oh yeah.
So, and we're not saying that this doesn't happen. We have an agent who took what Jasmine said about what she wanted to do. It was just a conversation what you guys are doing your one-on-ones, but she said, I don't have time to do all that. I really would just rather focus on big listings, as she did, and we talk about all the time. And that's Susan. But Susan was able to close in the last 6 months 3 $1 million listings just because she reached out to $1 million buyers or $1 million listings, just calling. And when she sold one in the neighborhood, She actually went and helped the people that sold the house find a new home, which they bought for $1 million, and then the next door neighbor called. So you get that, and then I think they're moving to another one. So that might be 4 transactions just from calling $1 million listings. Do not count yourself short. You can close $1 million house, and keep in mind the people that are selling the houses, they don't know anything about real estate. You're the real estate expert, and you're going to close that deal. And that's what I want us to shoot for this year. Close those deals too. I mean, we could take all of the listings that we can get, but let's focus on the big ones.
That is
I
awesome, Mr. Porter.
I also want to say, listening to Mr. Porter and Kerman, and of course you, Mrs. Porter, you're always telling us to stay encouraged. I just want folks to know that, okay, so this past year, I actually closed 3 deals. It took me all of the year before to get them up and going. So Mrs. Porter often says seed time and harvest. I'm just saying stay encouraged, because as you stay in the game, things start actually happening for you. So that's the other thing that I want to impart from doing this goal setting, because I really was like, last year I was like, okay, when? And then it just started happening. And so it went through 2021. I started in January and I kept going until September. And deals just kept, they closed slowly, but they kept coming. So stay encouraged.
That is excellent. And I don't think I could have said that better myself. Absolutely. I want to reiterate or kind of piggyback on something that Mr. Porter said, guys, with regards to your $1 million listings. How much is your commission as a listing agent on a $1 million property? I'm going to ask you guys that. What's your commission?
30,000.
30,000.
30 grand.
At least 30 grand. If you do 3.5% to the listing side, that's 35 grand.
35 grand. Let's
There
do
you
it. Let's cut these checks. I'm ready. Let's do it, y'all.
That's
ready.
on one property, guys. We're talking about a numbers game. We're talking about, communicating with people. Mr. Porter inserted the cold calling and being sure to be intentional with the type of properties that you want to invest your time into, because it's going to take the same work to sell, like he said, a $200,000 property that it's going to take to sell, a $1 million property, $1.5, $2 million. It's the same in terms of the work that you have to do. That being said, your return on investment is just exponentially more. How much or how many $1 million properties do you have to sell in 1 year to reach your goal of 100K in sales commissions?
3.
There you go. 3, a little bit over 3. You got it. So when we're talking about things being doable and obtainable, is that something that you think is doable and obtainable?
It's certainly out there.
Well, I think it's only out there because you may not have done it just yet. But when you realize that there are communities that the properties start at 750 and they go up to, 1.9, 2.4, and we're going to get on our Thursday evening trainings, we're going to dive back into our marketing, our targeted marketing, being very specific in our farm areas and all those things. We're about to begin that series again. That being said, if your farm area is an area where the average sales property is $1 million and you get in a year 3 properties out of your farm area, you think it was worth the effort?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If you believe it in your heart, then you can do it. You got to know that there's no agent that is better than you in any type of way. It's just a matter of what you believe, what you're willing to be committed to, the resources that you're willing to go grab, and not allowing any excuses. No excuses whatsoever. Mr. Porter, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, you guys, listen, just have the confidence to do it. Just think about this. If you made one phone call to $1 million listing, you actually spoke to them every day, just one. You say, I'm gonna just call $1 million listing every day. Hey, how you doing? My name is Shay Porter. I'm with Porter House International Realty Group. I see your house that you had problem listing your house before. It's indicated that you might be thinking about your house. Whatever your script is, follow your script. Call that $1 million listing. If you did one every day, just 5 days a week, just one a day for the whole year, what do you think would happen?
Well, let's break it down because we have some formulas in front of us. We can actually break down those numbers. So you said one per day, and these are, okay, let's say one, when you say for the whole year, do you want to use the 220 days a week?
To use the 220, my point is you got to get past your nose. Get past all of the no's, you're going to get the yeses. And I want to know, do you guys believe it's possible? We can tell them what to do. We can tell you what to do. But do you guys believe it's possible? Do you believe you can do it? That's what I'm pressing on. Do you believe you can do it? Because if you don't have the confidence, then we're wasting our time. Do you believe you can do it?
Absolutely.
I actually want to do the numbers, guys, because we have all of these fun ratios in front of us. And forgive me for those of you that know, I'm a bit of a bookworm, so that's okay. Just go with it. We have these very easy ratios in front of us. Mr. Porter said just one call per day, right? We want to do more than that during our prospecting time. But even if you just did one call per day during those 220 working days per year, one call to $1 million seller, let's take that and run it through our formula. So one call per day for 220 days, that's 220 calls. I'm going to divide that by 5 because that means for every 5 contacts, I'm going to generate a lead, right? So with that being said, or for every 12 contacts, I'm going to generate a lead. Let's do that. 220, divide that by 12. So that means I'm going to generate 18.3 leads, $18.3 million leads out of that, right? And let me take that and divide it by 5. Divide that by 5, that's 3.67. So that's 4 actual appointments that you'll have. 4 actual appointments, and that's just with you making one call to $1 million listings per day. And if you have those, you're going to get a minimum of, what is that, 2-to-1 ratio. You're going to get a minimum of 2 appointments. So that's $2 million listing appointments, right? And you're going to sell at least one of those. So if you were doing the bare minimum with just one, now we're asking you to prospect 10 per day, but if you did just one, you would sell your $1 million listing, guys. You would sell your $1 million listing. And not only that, with the listing opportunities afforded to you, you would be able to just multiply that business because your listings are going to bring in, potential buyers and opportunities for more listings. So those are very conservative in terms of the numbers that I just did. But do you guys see how no matter what your goal is, you can use those ratios to see what, the volume of activities are that you need to be doing?
Absolutely. The numbers are the numbers. The numbers will always be the numbers. If you continue doing it, the numbers will always fall where they are supposed to. They say this thing, and I don't say it much, but they say men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. The fact of the matter is, what I always say is numbers are consistent, and the numbers will be as consistent as you will be.
You got it. Now let's take this same number because I want for all of us to be on fire about this. Let's take this same number, right? If we needed to close 14 transactions.
Before you go there, Jasmine, let me just say one more thing, guys. And what this formula does not take into consideration is the word of mouth referrals.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take that into consideration. And what our experience has been is that when you sell $1 million listing and you have $1 million buyer, people talk. And then you start getting strange phone calls. And Curtis will tell you, you laying on the couch, you start getting phone calls because people have heard about you. And the number one thing that people who have a lot of money are looking for is people that they can trust with their money. And if You have one millionaire that trusted you. Now you have a reputation. You have an opportunity now to prove it to another person. Now you become the person that's talked about in those $1 million circles. Who's your realtor? Oh, I use Angela Skip over at Porterhouse. Who's your realtor? Oh, I use D. Richardson over at Porterhouse. What's Porterhouse? What they do? Well, man, they did a great job for me. They put my house on this auction website. It was, I had an abandoned beach house out in, Virginia Beach. I'm throwing plugs, guys. I'm throwing Colonial Beach, Virginia. I'm throwing plugs. So yeah, I'm just putting it out there. We have a Colonial Beach listing. It's on the auction site. It's coming up. It's a steal. It's a steal. Anyway, but the point I'm trying to make is people will talk to you. So this is not even talking about the word of mouth business and you positioning yourself. And it's just because you're brave enough to jump out there.
That is so essential. And that is so essential because all of us, you're going to get referrals. You're going to get referrals from your sphere of influence. That's going to be the icing on the cake. This cake, just doing this simple activities, this is going to bring in the bread and butter, and everything else will be icing on the cake for you.
And I'm sorry, Dad, you're saying so much. My brain is exploding because I'm excited about this year. Don't forget to ask for the referrals. How many of you guys, and some of you are closed houses right now, just closing already. Go back and ask for referrals. Ask for 5-star ratings. Make sure you're doing all of the follow-up. Don't let people off the hook. You sell them a house, ask for a referral. Ask them who they know in their family. Give them some business cards for you. You'll be surprised.
In addition to that, make sure you ask for reviews. So in addition to the 5-star ratings, you can ask for clients to do a video testimonial or to just write you up a testimonial, write it or type it or something like that, because people believe the people they know, right? They don't know you just yet, but once they do, they'll come to know, like, and trust you. But for the people that are a part of your sphere of influence, all of us that are on LinkedIn, or even if you're not, you understand how that goes. You're connected with people in tier 1 and they're connected with people, and it goes, so forth and so on. So you would be surprised at the amount of people that you could actually reach just by getting people to, like Mr. Porter said, give you those referrals, but to write a recommendation, write some type of reference, give you a review or something saying how you did a great job for them. And one of our agents that, one of our Realty pros on the line sent Mr. Porter and I a text message, a screenshot. So I'm going to call her out real quick. Darlene, she sent us over a screenshot of text messages from her clients that were just giving her praise and just praising her work and how she was there for them and all these things. And they're closing on their house and closing on another house. So those type of things, those are the things that are going to capture more business for you, because people see, oh, they gave excellent customer service to this person, so I'd be happy to work with them as well. Darlene, you're on the line. Do you want to share?
Yeah, no, the reviews are really nice. I mean, the wife, because she texted me outside of the selling of their home, so she, like, in her review was basically saying that I was a little bit more than her realtor, that she felt that that she can come and talk to me. So that was really what her review was about. And it was because they had their property went active like November, I think, and they had 2 buyers to pull out. So I had to talk her down, and just say, your house is, you have something to sell, and each time we reactivated her listing, they had a number of showings. And so now yesterday they closed on the house that they were selling. They closed at 10, and then at noon, they did the home inspection on their new house. And so when we were there, she was like, I want to just thank you for, just keeping me grounded, so that was what the review was about. And I just really had to talk her down, but that's pretty much it.
That's great. That's excellent. Those are the type of reviews that we want to have, guys. And for those of you, if you haven't gotten any client reviews just yet, rely heavily on your brokerage, guys. We have so many reviews posted online on our Porterhouse website because we want clients to be able to search us online and they say, who is this Porterhouse International? And for you, you want to say, well, I'm glad you asked. We are a company where we believe in customer service. Our client is our priority. And here are some of the former customers clients that we've served. And here is what they have said about us as a brokerage. So when you're working with me, this is the team that you're working with, and this is the caliber of service that we're going to provide to you. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Darlene. Is everybody comfortable with this page right now? Any new takeaways? You guys are awesome. You've had some tremendous contributions today. I feel like I don't want to move on from this page just yet, although I'm tempted to because I want to dive into a couple other areas. Okay, so if anybody needs to go back there, then we'll go back there. All right. That being said, that the next step to the business plan is your actual action plan, right? We've set the goals. So now you know, okay, exactly what your goals are. And for each and every last one of us at Porterhouse, you need to have a monetary goal for the year because that is what's going to tell us everything else that you need to do. Based on your monetary goal, it's going to say how many transactions you need to close, so forth and so on. But I want for us to be prepared and be aware that there needs to be an action plan to that. And that action plan needs to be SMART. Can anybody tell me about SMART goals? What is a SMART goal? Just as a hint, you have a cheat sheet right in front of you. Your SMART goal needs to be first specific. All right. I'm going to point to that and I'm going to stay there for just a moment. Because if you say, okay, well, I just want to make, a lot of money, or you say, well, I just want to be able to pay my bills, or I just want to be able to, make more than I made last year, or I just want to be able to match what I'm making on my full time, or I just want, whatever it is, those are very general kind of goals. And when they're general in that regard, you don't have a true focus. But when you say specifically, my goal for this year is 350,000, then you know exactly what your goal is. And if you haven't done that just yet, that may sound like, oh, it's such a big number. But I promise you, when you work these numbers the way that we're talking about and you do the things that we tell you to do, that is going to become your norm, right? But there is a process in order to get there. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the process for progress, being specific with your goals, right? Setting goals that are very specific and measurable, right? I should have a goal that, I know that I can measure the goal because I'm able to look back, like both Kermon and Dee said, on a weekly basis. If I know that I need to be prospecting a minimum of 1 to 1.5 hours per day, I can measure that. So I know if I've reached my goal of prospecting for 1.5 hours a day because I know specifically how long I should have invested into my business with regards to the time that I spent prospecting, which is very different from, oh, I'm going to do something every day. Something could be, taking out a book and putting it right back. You know what I mean? It could be taking out your pen to rewrite your goals, but really not doing it. Being very specific and being measurable is really going to help you to stay focused, to focus and to stay focused. Okay. Something that is attainable, right? Something that you can actually do. We've talked about everything that is very much attainable, guys. We've talked about simply talking to people. We've talked about simply having an hour to an hour and a half of daily communication with people somewhere, somebody somewhere, 10 contacts per day. Those are things that are attainable. So I want for you guys in your goal to make sure that you are thinking of something that you can actually physically do, be specific, measure, and it is something that you can do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. Okay. That being said, the next point is relevant. And I want to spend a little bit of time there too, because it is very easy to be kind of overwhelmed with excitement with all of the different prospecting opportunities that are available. But that being said, it is just that easy to become distracted with so many options. Okay, so I really want to make sure that we hone in on the things that are very specific to our business and that are relevant to getting us to our goals based on the goal that we set for our business plan. And anything that does not fit into that category, it is no longer relevant for helping you to meet your goals. All right. As an example of that, if you say, okay, well, this year I'm going to focus on listings and I'm going to focus on, well, let me be specific. I'm going to focus on $1 million listings. I'm going to focus on them down, in Newburgh, or I'm going to focus on the waterfront. I'm going to focus on Potomac or Rockville or DC or wherever those $1 million listings are that you want to focus on. You're going to be specific and you're going to say measurable. I'm going to make these 10 calls per day. Attainable. Is it attainable? Can I spend an hour to an hour and a half per day? Absolutely. If you need to reorganize your schedule to be able to time block on various days, both Kermon and Dee have already illustrated how that is very much possible. So whether you take, a 3-hour or 4.5-hour time block on one day so that you have covered prospecting for 3 days all in one, or if you do the hour to an hour and a half every single workday out of that 225, then you know that you have something specific, measurable, attainable, and it's relevant. Now, within that time period, you're focusing on specifically your $1 million listings that are in Newburgh, and now you're going to have opportunities that are going to come up where distractions are going to try to say, okay, well, this is what you said you were going to focus on for that hour and a half, but now let's see, what about this place? What about, let's just consider this area or that area or this type of activity. You are going to have so many different distractions that may try to tempt you to, steer away from the specific activity that you said you were going to do at that time. That's where relevance comes into play. Relevance says, is doing this thing over here that I could do, is that relevant to me meeting the goal that I said that I was going to meet this year by specifically focusing on something that's measurable, attainable, and that is specific to my business plan, right? And if it is not relevant to that thing, then that's when you're going to say, nope, I'm not going to do it. That's a distraction. Maybe it's something for the next year. You have a 5-year business plan. If that is something that you eventually want to do, that's fine, but you allocate time to do that thing and do not allow for that thing to infringe upon what you have devoted this hour to an hour and a half of prospecting for, okay? That being said, it also needs to be time-based or time-bound, meaning, how we do sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, I've done it. We have, loved ones that we just adore and we say, oh, we got to get together. We're going to get together. And you don't set a date and you don't set a time. So then can anybody tell me what happens? If you don't set a date and you don't set a time, what happens?
You will not do it.
You don't do it.
Nothing happens.
You don't do it, and you're well intended and you're sincere in your desire and you truly, would enjoy those things, but you didn't set a time. So therefore it's not going to happen. Maybe it'll happen one day, but one day could be 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. Who knows, right? So as it pertains to all of our goals, they need to be time bound, because then that is going to empower you to, get whatever. I don't know. Some people work well under pressure. I'm one of those people. I like to, for whatever reason, if I have something that I absolutely have to do by a certain time, then it fuels me. And now I'm not going to stop until I get it done, because that it's, for me, it's like that. Other people, are way, in advance, a year or 2 years, however it works for you guys, as long as it's time bound and you set a goal that you're going to complete by this date. And by that date, you were able to measure that you completed it. Perfect. Okay, but let's make sure that all of our goals are time bound. All right. That being said, that is very important. I'm going to go back just a little bit because I said something that we all know too well. When you set your goals and your action plans, rest assured you will have distractions. And these distractions are going to say, oh, well, this is what you want to do, but what about me? What about this? What about this? All of these things that are going to start to appear to be potential, business opportunities and all of those things. And like Mr. Porter was saying, those things are, going to be the icing on the cake, because you are going to get business from your referrals and from your sphere of influence. But we want you guys to be very specific and very focused during this hour to an hour and a half of your daily prospecting that you're going to commit to, we want you to hold that time sacred. So just like you have some other non-negotiable time, you want to make sure that that is non-negotiable when it comes to distractions. All right. Finish what you said you were going to do within that time. And then if you need to, in the future, set an action plan for that item, then you do so. Okay. Why am I saying that? Let's go back to our wheel of life. Everything this year that you set in your goals and your business plan, your action plan, as you can see, we're talking about the whole person because this is a business and it's very essential to be a business. But as people, we're not just two-dimensional, right? We have a whole life. So as you go through this business plan and you're doing the exercise where, you're dreaming, you're thinking, you're imagining, you're going deep on the inside, you're going deep within your heart and you're going deep within your spirit. And you're going to give some time in prayer and thought to say, okay, where do I want to be in this area of business, in this area of finances, in this area of social fund contribution, physical, spiritual, mental, and family? Where do I want to be within each one of these areas? And where am I now? Now, these things become your plan for the year, guys. And these are all the areas that are essential to all of us in life. So when something comes that is not a part of this area and does not further you along this trajectory to meeting your goal, then you got to know that it's a distraction and you got to be absolutely comfortable with saying, no, not now, nope, not now. So just be a blocker, for those distractions and be totally comfortable and confident knowing that if you are specific and you remain focused on your goals, you're going to get there and you're going to get a lot further along than you would have just being general. Okay. That's for the goals, the SMART goal portion of it. All right.
I have another question, Mrs. Porter,
Sure.
that I keep forgetting to ask. And I know we've said this before, but I always get a little mushy on it. We're saying spend a block of time and make sure that you make these amount of contacts.
Mm-hmm.
So we are actually talking about actually engaging people, because I know that there were days when I would spend an hour and a half and I would not get a soul on the phone, or I would not I try to get to text someone and I never get a text back. What do we do with that? Does that count, basically?
So
how does that count?
So that does count. And I want you to know, like we said before, it's a numbers game. You continue and you do the same thing the next day. Okay. No different than if you go door knocking. Some people are not going to be home, and that's a part of the numbers that have already been factored into your success. You just keep going and you do the same thing relentlessly. Do not focus on, oh, well, some people didn't answer right away or they didn't get back to me. Keep going because you're looking for those people who will answer, and there are very many people who will. So you keep going and you keep focused and you continue to move ahead and make progress in that area no matter what, because you will get there if you continue.
So no matter whether you get people to respond to you or not, if you've put in that time, it counts? Is that what we're saying?
Mr. Porter, you had something you wanted to say there? Mr. Porter, you're on mute.
If I was going to say this, D, if you haven't gotten on the person's nerves, it doesn't count to me. Jasmine's going to count it. I'm telling you, but if I'm going to listen, I'm going to call you, I'm going to text you, I'm going to email you, I'm going to call you again tomorrow. Say, hey, I reached out to you yesterday, leave voicemail. I'm going to text you again. Hey, if you're not interested, just call me, let me know that you're interested. Send me a text message. Tell me to leave you alone. Something. I'm going to get on their nerves. Okay. Because especially if this is your goal, it's what you do. This is just what I'm doing for right now. I'm going to test this thing out and see if it works. You have to grind it. Don't be. I think we're so concerned with being liked. I want to be liked, but I want a person to know that, listen, I have what they're probably looking for, but I need to know that they don't want it. They got to tell me that they don't want it. I'm sending out messages now asking people, what are their real estate goals for this year? If you don't have any, I suggest that you invest in real estate. I'm just telling people that. I don't, and some people are responding back to me already. Yeah, I do need to talk to
Wonderful.
you. Well, let's schedule a time. Here's my calendar. Jump on there. You need to make yourself available to people, but you need to also let them know I'm not going to leave you alone until you tell me yes or no. I'm a salesperson. That's what it says on my license. I think it says on all of your licenses in the office. I'm a salesperson. This is how I make my living. And
Mhm.
salespeople are not afraid to make sales. They're not afraid of people. They're people. And this is what we are trying to convey to you. We want you to be successful, but you're not going to be successful being shy. You're not going to be successful being a secret agent. You're not going to be successful if you're a one and done person. You got to be persistent, and persistence will overcome resistance every time.
Very, very
Got
well
it.
stated, Mr. Porter. I want
Got
to
it.
reiterate something. We are talking about active versus passive prospecting, right? That hour to an hour and a half worth of prospecting, this is active daily prospecting, right? As we go into our daily schedule, there are going to be time blocks for various aspects of our real estate day that is going to maximize our success. But during that time, we're talking about active. We're talking about actually being face to face in front of people or on the phone with people or having a text message conversation with somebody. Those are active forms of communication because the person knows that you are contacting them, right? That being said, there are some passive forms of communication that we'll use to nurture our book of business, such as your constant contact. That's active in your marketing endeavors, but it's passive in terms of you sending out emails and you don't necessarily, you're not having a direct conversation with somebody in the moment. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, got it now.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
got
you.
it.
You got it. Actively communicating and gathering information so that you, out of your prospecting, you're building your book of business. Your book of business is where your bread is. That is where your money is going to come in from real estate, your book of business. But you've got to actually seek out those conversations so as to have email addresses, telephone numbers, birthdays, anniversaries, home addresses to plug into your CRM so that your constant contact campaign is going out to those people that you've already prospected September 2021 because you gathered their information. Now you've put them there and now you can put them on a drip campaign and your campaign's going out every week, whether you're on vacation, whether you're in Dubai, whether you're sleeping, whether you're getting a haircut, nails done, whatever's going on, your campaign is going out and now you're staying in front of those people that you spent that one day actively prospecting for that 5 minutes or however long that contact was. Now you have that person's contact information from here on out. And like Mr. Porter said, unless they tell you, D. Richardson, do not call me back about real estate ever, continue to prospect them, right? Because no doesn't mean never. No oftentimes means not now in terms of real estate. We have people that you talk about seed time and harvest. We have people that we began working with years ago. And one of them is on the website every day, and we get an email letting us know whenever somebody's on the website, this person is, looking at homes. We've had other people that, for whatever reason, it's taken them a little bit longer to get up and running, but then they always come to fruition. So you don't know when that person is going to be ready to purchase. You don't know when they're going to be ready to actively sell. But if you actively engage them in conversation at least that one time, now you have something that you can market to on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and that becomes your book of business, guys.
Yeah, Jasmine.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of times, guys, and you gotta have comebacks for people.
Mm-hmm.
It's always not now. But to me, when they say it's not now, I'm gonna say it's now or never. What you want me to do? I'm trying to help you. It's now or never. You said your real estate goals. We're a whole year's gone past. You told me that last year, but it's now or never. You have to have comebacks for people. You have to you got to make sure that you're serious about what you do. Because if you're not taking yourself seriously, nobody else is going to take you seriously. Listen. We got to invest in properties. You got to get an investment property shit. You don't own your own house. Let me walk you through the process. The worst thing that we can do is we can find out information. Let us pull your credit and see where you are. Let us see how much your house could sell for. There's always something, but everybody wants to push the time back. And I love, smart goals because they're time bound. You got to bind people by time. You got to say, hey, listen, I might get super busy in the summer, and then you're gonna call me, and then I might not really have time to focus in on this problem. Let's start working on this today. Send me over these documents, and I'm gonna send you over a listing agreement. Send me over this, and I'm gonna put you in touch with my lender. So you get something and you give something, but you got to be creating transactions, and then you got to write these people down and not forget about them, because your follow up is very important. And a lot of people, a lot of guys, a lot of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we've forgotten about people. We've dropped the ball. It's not too late to go pick the ball up and say, hey, you know what? I don't know how you fell off my list last year, but I wanted to circle back with you, because it's going to break your heart if you circle back with me and say, you know what? I found somebody else and I got my house, but thank you for getting me started. That's a punch in the gut. You got me started, but I found somebody else who was able to close the deal.
You make a really good point there. So let's follow up with these people from 2021 and 2020 who have not yet purchased. All right. We're going to close out on this last paragraph here. I want somebody to just walk us through this paragraph. And then within the body of this schedule, I want you to point out where that prospecting time is. So would somebody read this paragraph under daily schedule for us, please? Aurelia, would you read that for us, please? If you're not able to unmute yourself, no
Yes.
worries. Okay.
No, I'm here.
Okay, perfect.
I had to get back on the screen where I can press the audio. Okay, for the daily schedule. Hold on. This last page we were on is for making it easy for the time, right? So is
Yes.
it on the next page at the bottom?
The paragraph that says daily schedule. So at the top of the page, it says organize your time.
Okay.
Right here, this paragraph.
At the bottom or the next, at the top where it says create a sample daily schedule?
Yep.
Okay. It says create a sample daily work schedule to support the numbers and goals that you set. Don't make the schedule so strict that you can't keep it, but use it as a guide to keep you focused on the activities you need to complete to achieve your goals. Make it work with your lifestyle and other commitments to family and self. Here are some examples incorporating business tasks into your daily schedule. And then at the bottom, it says the idea is to ensure you list the tasks necessary to accomplish your goals. A consistent work schedule will create habits that will lead you to success.
Excellent. Thank you for that. This sample, the simple daily work schedule that's right here, this is what the day of a full-time agent would look like, right? So that being said, you see this activity right here? Where's the prospecting, guys?
At the beginning of the day.
There it is. Now that may look different depending on what your lifestyle is, but that prospecting, you want to get that out of the way as soon as you can. Okay. I just wanted to point out this prospecting is going to provide all of the leads, the contacts, the appointments, so that you can get to your settlements and you will reach your year-end financial goal. It's all done within that prospecting time. Okay. Everything else is so that you can follow up and nurture the people that you have in your pipeline. But that prospecting is the most essential to make sure that you have a book of business for tomorrow. You have a pipeline that's robust and that's going to take you through the spring, the summer, the fall, the winter, and into next year. So that prospecting, we're going to end on that note for today. Okay. You guys have some sample time blocking schedules, and very many of us use our online schedules. Whatever scheduling tool you use, you want to go ahead and block out the time first and foremost. We talk about this all the time. Block out the time for 2 weeks for your non-negotiables. If you are full-time, if you're dual career, you want to take your schedule first and block out your non-negotiable time. Non-negotiable time, what's that? And I'm going to go ahead and end in just a moment. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. I wanted to get through this today because they are due in, just a couple days. So I wanted to make sure everybody had what you need. Block out your non-negotiables. Your non-negotiables, that's if you have to pick your child up, if you have Bible study, whatever your date nights are with your husband, if you have church, if you have work, whatever, those things are that are not flexible in that regard, you block out those things first on your calendar. And when you do that, you're going to see a world of opportunities around that open up, because now you're going to see all of the time you have available to insert some of these other things into it. That's where you're going to begin with your time blocking, and that's how you're going to fill your schedule in. All right. Does anybody have any questions about that before we end for today?
Yeah, I have something I would just like to throw out there for everybody.
Hey, Kurt, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing well.
So I would kind of challenge folks to, if you look at the first 2 items on the task is to organize a day, write your affirmations, review your business plan and goals is the next, is to actually look at your morning and see what time do you actually get up, and then push it back an hour and a half and start getting up an hour to an hour and a half earlier, and then knocking out kind of those first 2 tasks before your day even gets going. And you'll find that by pushing that hour back, you gain, like, I forget the breakdown, but like a few months of time by just getting up earlier. So certain things you can kind of knock out, doing your affirmations, if you journal, or even reading, you can do that really early in the morning, and it'll kind of set your day up. It's kind of that you should make your bed every morning, because if you do, you already accomplished the goal. You know what I mean? Like, so you're kind of already tracking on a positive, I've already done this, or starting to send certain emails out, or looking at things. For me, it's challenging now, but before the kids are even up in the morning, it's quieter. There's no distractions at all, because I'm really the only one up, and you can find that you can get a lot of stuff just knocked out, and then it just sets your day up that, like, the rest of the day just flows, and you're even more productive. But I would challenge everybody to, whatever time you get up, push it back an hour, push it back an hour and a half, and then just be productive within that time, and then get your day going.
That is excellent. Thank you for that. That is great advice. Does anybody have anything else that they'd like to ask or contribute before we close out today? And if there's anybody that has to go, if maybe you were on a break and now it's over, we thank you. We are appreciative that you've taken the time to join us. You can go ahead and go back to your work. If you're dual career, you got to go. Anybody else? If you have anything to ask or contribute.
When you end the recording, I have a question for Dee.
All right, then I will go ahead and end the recording for today.